Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever been watching an IBJJF match, International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and you see these two athletes just tangled up, looks complex?
Yeah, like they're in a real battle.
Exactly. And then suddenly the referee just shouts out, Lute!
Yeah.
Lucci!
Right, fight. Or, more accurately in context, it's a call against lack of combativeness.
Why yell that when they're clearly engaged? It seems counterintuitive.
Well, that command, it kind of cuts right to the heart of the IBJJF philosophy. It's not just about being in a position, it's about actively trying to progress. So our goal today really is to give you that quick guide, that shortcut to understanding how BJJ competition scoring works, the mechanics, the little details, basically turning that confusion into clarity when you watch.
Perfect. Because competitive jiu-jitsu, especially under IBJJF rules, isn't just random rolling. It's really structured. You mentioned a philosophy, 4 pillars.
That's right. 4 core ideas that pretty much underpin every single rule. First, and maybe most important, is safety.
Makes sense.
Second, efficiency and demonstrating skills that would work in, real self-defense. Third, the rules need to be in harmony with the teaching method. What's taught in the gyms should align with competition.
Okay.
And fourth, and this links back to Lute, is progression. Always moving forward, always improving position or attacking. Everything else kind of flows from these 4.
Okay, so how do those ideas, especially progression and efficiency, actually translate into points on the scoreboard?
The absolute key concept here is the 3-second rule. This is fundamental. You don't just score for, sweeping someone.
Right.
You have to land the sweep, establish control, and then stabilize that position for 3 solid seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi.
Okay, 3 seconds. That's stabilization. That's the proof of control.
Exactly. It shows you've achieved that efficiency and dominance the rule's value. Without it, no points. Maybe an advantage, but we'll get to that.
Gotcha. So let's break down the points. There's a hierarchy, right?
Yep. Starts at 2 points. 2 points are for 3 main things: a takedown, a sweep, or getting knee on belly.
So for a takedown, you put them down, get stable on your feet, and hold them there for 3.
Pretty much. You need to end up in a dominant spot, feet back on the mat ideally, control established for those 3 seconds.
Okay, then moving up, 3 points.
That's the guard pass. Big one. Getting past your opponent's legs, their guard, and settling into something like side control or north-south. Stabilize for 3 seconds, boom, 3 points. It's often a real fight to get there.
I bet. And the top tier, 4 points.
That's the pinnacle of positional control. Mount or back control, full mount, or taking the back with hooks in or a body triangle. Again, 3 seconds of stability. It really rewards that progression pillar heavily.
Right. You're in a position to finish the fight. Now, here's something cool. Cumulative points. Could you stack these up?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where good transitions pay off big time. Let's say you pass the guard, that's 3 points, and you flow immediately into mount.
Which is 4 points.
Right. If you secure that mount and hold it stable for 3 seconds, you don't just get the 4 for mount, you get the 3 for the pass, too. 7 points, just like that.
Wow. Okay, so rapid progression gets big rewards.
Definitely. But there's a catch, a really important one, the submission caveat.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Let's say you're in that scenario, passing the guard, transitioning to mount, but as you're settling in, your opponent slaps on a submission attempt, maybe an arm bar from the bottom.
Okay.
Even if you feel stable in mount, that 3-second count for your points stops. It's interrupted by the submission threat.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Even if you're clearly in the dominant spot.
Yep. Safety and defense kick in. You only get the points after you've successfully escaped the submission attempt and then restabilize the position for a fresh 3 seconds.
Man, that sounds frustrating if you're the one on top.
It can be, but it emphasizes complete control. If you escape the submission but lose the mount in the process, you might not get the points at all. Maybe just an advantage.
Okay, advantages. Let's define those. They're the tiebreaker, right?
They are. Think of an advantage as a nearly. You almost completed a point-scoring move, like you held mount for 2 seconds, then lost it. Or you applied a submission attempt that posed a real danger, made your opponent defend seriously.
So it acknowledges the effort or threat without awarding full points.
Exactly. And yeah, if points are tied at the end, the person with more advantages wins. If points and advantages are tied, then we look at penalties. #tag2, lack of combativeness, and the penalty ladder.
Right, penalties. So we know how to score, but how does the IBJJF discourage? Well, not scoring, not progressing. Which brings us back to Lute.
Precisely. Lute is the verbal warning, the start of a potential penalty for lack of combativeness. The rulebook defines it as an athlete clearly not pursuing positional progression, basically stalling.
They really don't want people just holding on.
No, they want action, dynamic fights, and the classic example of enforcing this is the double guard pull scenario.
Ah, yes, where both fighters decide sitting down looks good at the same time.
Exactly. If they both pull guards simultaneously, the ref doesn't just let them hang out, they start a countdown, usually about 20 seconds.
Okay, clock's ticking. What needs to happen?
Within those 20 seconds, someone needs to achieve the top position, or lock in a real submission, or be, just about to score. Some clear offensive action.
And if they just stay there, tangled up?
If the clock runs out and nothing's happened, both athletes get a penalty. And they get stood back up to restart. It forces engagement.
Wow, okay, no passive play allowed there. Is there anything else specific like that?
Yeah, there's a rule specifically targeting the 50-50 guard. That position can sometimes lead to, stalemates.
Right, it can be tricky to advance from.
So the rule is, if you're in 50-50 and you grab your opponent's lapel or belt, often a sign someone might be planning to just hold on, you get 20 seconds.
Then the 20-second clock.
Yep, 20 seconds to show clear positional progression. If you don't, you get pinged for lack of combativeness. Penalty.
So these penalties start adding up. Tell me about this escalating sequence of penalties. Sounds ominous.
It is, because it leads directly to disqualification, or DQ. It's a 4-step ladder, and it doesn't matter if the penalties are for stalling or for other technical fouls we'll discuss, they all count cumulatively.
Okay, sure.
But first penalty. It's just marked on the scoreboard. Think of it as a formal warning. Hey, cut it out.
Just chill.
Second penalty, now it impacts the board. Your opponent immediately gets one advantage.
Okay, starting to hurt. Step 3.
Third penalty. This is a big jump. Your opponent is awarded 2 points. That can completely change the match dynamic.
Wow. And the final step.
Fourth penalty, that's it. Game over. You're disqualified, DQ'd from the match.
4 strikes and you're out. Doesn't take much, really. Could be 3 stalling calls and 1 illegal grip.
Exactly. It shows just how serious the IBJJF is about enforcing activity in the rule set. They want you playing their game.
Any exceptions to this 4-strike rule?
One big one, focused on safety for younger competitors. Athletes under 15 years old, they get a bit more leeway. They're only disqualified on their 6th penalty. Okay, so those technical fouls like stalling or illegal grips, they feed that 4-penalty ladder. But there are other fouls, more serious ones, that have immediate consequences. They're generally split into disciplinary, serious, and severe fouls.
Let's start with the worst ones. Disciplinary fouls. These sound like instant removal.
They are. Immediate DQ, not just from the match, but usually from the entire tournament. This is for stuff completely against the spirit of martial arts.
Like what?
Things like cursing at the ref or opponent, hostile actions, biting, pulling hair, obviously, throwing punches or kicks, any kind of traumatic blow. 0 tolerance.
Makes sense. Okay, what about serious fouls or fault to grave? You said these feed the penalty ladder.
That's right. These are still significant rule breaks, often related to illegal tactics or stalling progression in specific ways, but they count as 1 strike on that 4-penalty ladder.
Give me some examples.
Common ones are things like kneeling or sitting down or pulling guard without getting a grip first. You need that connection.
Prevents just dropping to the floor defensively.
Exactly. Also, illegal G-grips, putting your fingers inside the cuff of the sleeve or the pant leg opening, that's a serious foul.
Restricts movement unfairly. Okay, what if someone just runs away?
Running away has a special consequence. If you intentionally flee the mat area specifically to avoid giving up points or getting stuck in a bad spot, like escaping a mount attempt, you get hit with a penalty, which counts on the ladder, plus your opponent immediately gets 2 points. It's a double whammy.
Ouch. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Any age-specific serious fouls?
Yes. One notable one for safety. For white belts and also in the juvenile division, so under 15s, jumping to closed guard onto a standing opponent is a serious foul. Too much risk of head impact.
Right, safety first. Okay, moving on to severe fouls. Falta gravissima. What makes these different?
These also result in immediate DQ from the match, but maybe not the whole tournament, like disciplinary ones. They're usually about actions that create extreme danger or involve cheating.
Such as?
Deliberately running off the mat to avoid getting submitted, that's severe. Using any slippery stuff on your body, oil, creams, gels.
The old greasing trick.
Yeah. Definitely not allowed. Also, strangling someone just with your hands, no gi involved, or blocking their nose and mouth deliberately.
And dangerous throws.
Absolutely. Things like suplexes, where you intentionally spike the opponent's head or neck onto the mat. Huge safety violation, instant DQ.
This category also includes illegal holds, right? Depending on belt level.
Critically, yes. Applying submissions that are banned for your specific age or belt level falls here. Think heel hooks for lower belts, certain knee twisting locks, some types of toe holds. Applying those when they're not allowed is a severe foul. DQ.
Okay, we have to talk about the most infamous one. Knee reaping, or reap de perna. It confuses so many people, but it's vital for knee safety.
It really is, and the definition is very technical, very specific. Knee reaping occurs when you place your thigh behind your opponent's leg, pass your calf over their knee area, and critically, place your foot across the vertical midline of their body.
Okay.
And you apply inward pressure towards that trapped leg, usually while keeping their foot stuck. The mechanics put huge stress on the knee ligaments sideways.
Right, potentially very dangerous.
Yeah.
So how does the ref decide if it's just a penalty or an instant DQ? It sounds like a fine line.
It is a fine line, and it comes down to the application of danger versus just the position. If you just move your foot across that midline, maybe your leg position is technically a reap, but you're not actively applying pressure or a submission.
Yeah.
That's typically treated as a serious foul. The ref will stop the match, give you that penalty, which counts towards the 4, and restart you, often telling you to correct the position. But if you cross that midline and you simultaneously apply a submission hold, like twisting the ankle, or you clearly start torquing the knee, or your body crosses the opponent's body limit applying pressure, that immediately escalates it to a severe foul. Instant DQ from the match. The moment you actively threaten the joint's integrity with that illegal position, you're out. Hashtag YIV. Referee authority and competition integrity.
It's obvious the referee has a huge amount of authority making these calls in real time. Is there any backup?
Yeah, the IBJJF system isn't just one person's call, especially at higher levels. They often use a 3-referee system. 1 central ref on the mat and 2 corner refs.
Oh, does that work?
For points, advantages, or penalties to be awarded, at least 2 out of the 3 referees have to agree. It adds a layer of confirmation.
And technology. Video replay.
Yes, they do use video replay now, which is a big step, but it's specifically for correcting scores or penalties that were already awarded. 2 independent video referees need to agree that a mistake was made based on the footage.
Okay, so oversight exists. Now, how can a match actually end, besides points or DQ?
Well, the most common way, ideally, is submission. Someone taps, they verbally give up, or sometimes they might make a sound, like a scream or yell, that clearly indicates pain or distress from a hold.
What about injuries?
Stoppage is another way. Could be a significant injury, or even bad cramps. If there's bleeding, the match pauses, the doctor checks. If they can't stop the bleeding after 2 attempts by the medical staff, the match is stopped. Also, if someone loses consciousness from a legal choke, the match ends.
Okay. And we covered disqualification and winning by score. What about ties?
If points are tied, we check advantages. If those are tied, we check penalties, the person with fewer wins. If everything is tied, points, advantages, penalties are all equal.
Yeah.
It goes to a referee decision. The central referee decides who showed more offensiveness or was closer to scoring throughout the match. It's subjective but necessary sometimes. There's also a super rare scenario, like an accidental injury in a final causing a tie, where they might do a random pick, but that's highly unusual.
Got it. Let's touch on integrity and just basic standards. The G itself has rules, right?
Oh yeah, very specific. Uniform rules are strict. The G has to be one of 3 colors: white, royal blue, or black. No mixing tops and bottoms.
Any condition.
It has to fit properly specific measurements for sleeve length, pant length, jacket thickness. And crucially, it must be clean, no rips, no tears, no obvious mending, and definitely no foul odors. They can DQ you for a smelly G.
Good. What about personal hygiene?
Standard stuff. Fingernails and toenails from short. Long hair has to be tied back securely so it doesn't interfere.
And here's a quirky one I read about. Hair dye. Makeup.
Ah, yes. This is interesting. You'll be disqualified immediately if you're wearing hair dye or makeup that visibly stains your opponent's gi during the match.
Seriously. Why?
It falls under integrity and respect for your opponent and their equipment. They don't want people's G's getting ruined by temporary dyes or heavy makeup rubbing off, so if it transfers, you're out.
Wow. Okay. Very specific. Finally, there's a policy now about competition categories, right? Regarding gender.
Yes. The IBJJF implemented a clear policy. Athletes have to register and compete in the category male or female that matches their biological sex assigned at birth,
And that's determined by.
as listed on their original birth certificate. The policy states this is non-negotiable for participation in their events, aimed at maintaining consistency within the existing male and female divisions. Hashtag outro.
Okay, wow. That was a lot, but super helpful. Let's try and boil it down. Key takeaways for someone trying to understand IBJJF rules. Scoring is all about getting to a dominant position and holding it. That 3-second stabilization is everything.
Absolutely. Control and progression are rewarded. And on the flip side, a penalty system is strict. It ramps up fast, remember, 4 fouls, whether for stalling or illegal grips or whatever, and you're disqualified. It keeps the action moving.
And safety is paramount, woven through everything, especially with things like the specific rules around dangerous throws and, of course, the very technical definition penalties for knee reaping. They really want to protect the athletes.
Definitely. And what's really interesting when you step back is how the rules actively shape the fight. The IBJJF isn't just passively officiating. They're using the rules, especially the penalties for stalling and the rewards for points, to dictate a certain style of BJJ, one focused on constant attack and progression.
Yeah, they're really pushing against stagnation. Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Go for it.
If the rules are so heavily geared towards rewarding attack and punishing stalling, what does that mean for the future of competitive BJJ? Will we see rule tweaks that eventually make stalling almost impossible? Could the sport evolve into something even faster paced?
It's a great question. How far can they push the progression pillar through rule enforcement? Next time you watch a high-level match, really listen for that Lute command and watch how the athletes react. It tells you a lot about the tactical game being played, not just on the mats, but with the rule book itself.